Alright, so I actually have a narrated showdown battle for y'all, which I don't normally do. I haven't done one of these in a while, which is different from a live showdown battle just because this isn't live, obviously. This is post-narrated after I've had the battle. The reason being is that I got a pretty good battle with this sand team I got from Edgar, aka the Black Pendejo, Stardust, and I just really wanted to upload it. Not to mention that I'm really enjoying the daily uploads, and I hope you guys are as well. And looking at threats on his side of the field, Genesect is really the only one major problem I'm going to have to watch out for. But besides that, I can pretty much deal with the rest of his team, so expecting him to lead off with Genesect, I lead off with my Arceus, and I know he's not going to want to go straight for the Iron Head on the off chance that I do live and burn him with the Will-O-Wisp. So I'm really going to go for the Will-O-Wisp. As he turns out into the Dialga, he actually ends up getting a first turn crit, but that crit really doesn't play a role whatsoever in this battle, so don't think I actually got mad about that. Just because I know I outspeed a good majority of his team and I can go for the recover. So I get the free switch into my Tyranitar. As he switches into Genesect, I'm going to be able to get up my Stealth Rocks. And with me getting up my Rocks and him not having a Rapid Spinner, they will be here for the remainder of the battle. And because he has no Weather Starter of his own, I decided to leave in Tyranitar for fodder. But to my surprise, I actually end up living. As he turns out into Dialga, I get off a pretty good amount of damage with the Stone Edge. And knowing I should have some use for my Tyranitar, I'm actually going to switch directly into my Arceus Rock as he ends up going for the Draco Meteor, which automatically tells me he does not have the Aura Sphere. So if he does want to save Dialga, I can keep that information in my mind for later on in the battle. As I go for the recover, he is then just going to go for the Dragon Tail, which automatically tells me that he doesn't have it, or if he did, at -2, he wouldn't be doing much to me. So he Dragon Tails me onto my Latias, and at this point, it doesn't really matter what he switches into. Even if he wants to bring in Skarmory, I do have Hidden Power Fire. So he just leaves in his Dialga for Death Fodder as he brings in the Genesect. I don't want to take the very obvious U-turn, or even if he goes for the Ice Beam, I can then get a free switch into my Arceus and be able to hit something with Judgment and get off a good chunk of damage on them. But he does go for the U-turn, gets another crit, which again doesn't matter, and he turns out into his Mewtwo, which I found to be very odd, but once you really look at it, Mewtwo is the best thing that he can go out into because he can easily live a Shadow Sneak and in return knock out my Giratina. Because if he brought in his Arceus, I could have Will-O-Wisp that. If he brought in Skarmory, I could have burned that as well. Or if he brought in Giratina, and if he tried to phase me, I could have Dragon Tailed him out before he Dragon Tailed me, just because I was faster. So either way, Mewtwo was his best switching, as I can get a free switch into my Excadrill. I'm actually going to go for the Rapid Spin, thinking I would be able to finish off the Mewtwo, but of course not. He lives, and in return knocks me out with an Aura Sphere, which really doesn't matter just because Excadrill really wouldn't have had a free chance to get up a Swords Dance, and as long as he had Skarmory around, Excadrill was kind of useless, so yeah. And on the double down, I brought in Latias as he switched into Genesect, which I honestly should have saw coming, so I switched into my Skarmory as he switched down into his own Skarmory, and at this point we're just both going to get up all 3 layers of spikes, but in the long run, me getting up my spikes will benefit me more than it will benefit him, because my Arceus does have Recover, and even if his Giratina is Rest Talk, I do have Parasong on my Arceus, and I do have Dragon Pulse on my Latias to be able to deal with it. So either way, the fact that I got up all 3 layers spikes, as I said, will benefit me more than it would benefit him, sorry. So he goes for the Ice Beam, and I know my Arceus should be able to live one just because Genesects don't tend to carry any special attack investment in Ubers just because they are physically based. Not to mention that I do get the +1 in my special defense from the Sandstorm, and I'm just going to go for the Judgment just because, like earlier, nothing on his team really appreciates a Judgment, especially not after all those hazards, as I'm able to easily 2-hit KO the Skarmory. He then brings in the Arceus, and even if he wants to go for the Swords Dance, Skarmory is one of the best counters to Extreme Killer Arceus, because as you saw there, Extreme Speed doesn't do anything, and because he is not carrying Brick Break, then he can't touch my Skarmory whatsoever, and at this point his Arceus is basically dead, so I can just roost up as he dies off to the combination of Life Orb, Toxic, and Sandstorm. He then brings in the Genesect, lives on 1%, and even if he does carry the Flamethrower, which is highly unlikely, because I am in sturdy range, I can just Whirlwind him out as he ends up over-predicting and goes for the Iron Head. I just Whirlwind him out into his last with the Giratina, and then he makes a very odd switching back into his Genesect, and as you're about to see, his Giratina actually turns out to be a Calm Mind Giratina with Substitute, which would explain why he didn't bring it out throughout this whole battle. But at this point, the battle is basically mine, and even if he was the regular Rest Talk set, I do have Parasong on my Arceus Rock, so it really doesn't matter, and that's going to be the 3-0 victory in my favor. And this was actually a pretty good battle once you really look at it, so I definitely hope you guys did enjoy it. And I do apologize for messing up a bit in the narration. It is pretty late at night. You see, this is what I mean. I apologize. But yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to some more content. Enjoy the rest of your night, enjoy the rest of your day. And I do believe I am out of here. Later.